Hello, everybody. This is Mike Popovich from P2 Insight from my home office. Hope you're doing well and staying healthy. Would love to be somewhere with you, fun and interesting, but these are COVID times. So here we are. But at least we have the technology so we can carry on. Let me take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about P2 Insight. We only do one thing. We enable Maximal for e-commerce. Now, can't anyone enable Maximal for e-commerce? You might be wondering. Yes, just like anyone could build an electric vehicle, but Tesla does it the best. And anyone could maybe sing, play baseball, or play tennis. But only the people that focus on it, that make it their passion, make it their purpose, and give it all their attention, usually end up doing it the best. And that's the philosophy here at P2 Insight. Now, you depend on your suppliers, your contractors, your vendors. You need their parts, the services, the expertise, their resources, their custom builds. You need them when you need them. You need them at the best price performance ratio. These days, companies are relying more and more on the supply chain. But how well are they connected to their supply chain? Think about it. In your company, how reliable, how visible, how timely, auditable, and how automated is your current form of communication with your suppliers? Do you still rely on this technology? Do you rely on fax machines, perhaps email with PDF attachments, perhaps a telephone, play phone tag back and forth? You could continue relying on this, but realize this is your weakest link in the chain. You could stay with this, or you could have this, a fully integrated Maximal with your supply chain. This is what P2 Insight delivers. If you're a maintenance person who requires parts or services, you have all these dilemmas to deal with that waste your time and increase the risk of not getting what you need when you need it. If, on the other hand, you're a buyer, you have all these dilemmas to deal with that prevent you from servicing your customers and getting them what they need when they need it at the best price performance ratio. With existing processes, you waste your time on clerical issues instead of focusing on strategic initiatives. Can Maximal be enhanced to support improved and optimized P2P processes and make your job easier and more productive? And can it increase the reliability and efficiency of the supply chain? With products and extensions from P2 Insight, yes, it can. And it can be done without rip and replace, but with enhance and extend. This is the full suite of modules that P2 Insight offers. It's not just PunchUp. It's not just a PO portal. It's got work orders, RFQs, advanced shipping notifications, invoices, and full catalog management. This is the full suite of procure-to-pay functionality that we offer. All the modules can be implemented independently, a la carte, at your pace and convenience. No one else can offer this level of focus and this broad of an e-commerce solution, all working with your Maximal. Thank you. Have a great day. Stay healthy and stay safe.
Excellent. What we're going to do next is we're going to move into a very exciting presentation from Kim Woodbury. We're excited to have her here. Kim, for those of you who haven't met Kim, she's the offering manager for IBM Maximal, so very, very well versed in pretty much all aspects of Maximal. So she's going to step us through what's going on with the Maximal application suite and give us a bit of excitement for what's coming in 2021. So maybe I can pass it over to you, Kim, and let you take on your presentation.
Okay, you can see my screen okay?
I can see your screen. I can hear you fine.
All right, I'll try to be as exciting as possible. That was no pressure now, but it is roadmap, so we'll keep it as good as we can, and IBM slides. So I do have a lot of information, actually, as you may be aware now that we've announced the Maximal Application Suite 8.0, which was early or in the spring. And so we're going to go through what that means to the portfolio, where the EAM piece fits in, the timeline, and the technology. I'll also spend a little bit of time just taking a look back at the last 6 months. We talked about what version people are on and making sure that you're staying current and what you can look for in the 7.6.1.2 version and other industry solution and add-on offerings that have been released in that time period. So with that, I do, of course, have our disclaimer if there's futures that we're talking about and dates and things can change. So to not base any buying decisions on anything like that that is shown today that's not committed. Okay, so I'm going to jump right into this new application suite discussion. And you'll see the acronym, new IBM acronym alert, MAS. So the Maximal Application Suite, you'll see is referred to that. The 8.0 version was released back in June of 2020. And what we're really trying to do is to respond to the ever-changing world of technology and maintenance, and how those are merging more in all of our customers' world. So there's lots of different examples. I wanted to try and take a more kind of generic example for this audience, as we have mixed industries here. But really, as we see equipment becoming smarter and smarter, and we have been talking about this for years, but the continuing focus on digitization of data and being able to instrument and get real-time information from the different aspects of the equipment that you're maintaining within your plant, your airport, your manufacturing facility, or any building at all, right? It could be a campus. As you know, of course, we're very cross-industry in what we do, but there's been a lot more infusion of that technology when it comes to sensors and bringing together the real-time information and trying to improve and insert things like artificial intelligence and augmented reality for things like inspections and other data collection points, right? All with the same goals that we've always talked about: reducing our operational costs, improving the uptime and availability of our assets. So with all of that in mind, and with a specific focus on the technician and the technology that's available for mobility. I think the survey earlier showed, many of our Maximo customers are doing some kind of mobility, whether it's with IBM's product or another product, but those numbers are continuing to grow. And the expectations of the workforce is continuing to grow as younger people come in, and of course we're all used to having access to all kinds of information on our phones at all times. That same expectation is in the field today. And we also understand that there's a lot of cost when it comes to training and turnover of those field technicians. So we want to ensure that the usability, that it's very intuitive, and they can get the information that they need if they haven't had a lot of experience, or maybe it's, you need to bring in some outside help for a short amount of time. Any of those scenarios need to be supported with the right mobile technology and access to the right information to do the work they need to do. So that's a big focus of what we've been investing in as well, as we think about the entire journey of the asset management world, and as we kind of expand our capabilities and have introduced things like Asset Health Insights, which now we're just calling Health, as we get into more of that asset performance management or APM world. And under this new offering, be able to have available to you access to all of those different capabilities under the same license, under the same look and feel and usability, and have them fully integrated to be able to get the benefits from beginning with manage, what you'll hear the EAM sort of portfolio umbrellaed under, where you're really executing the work and collecting the data on the assets that you own and maintain. But being able to expand into additional monitoring, we talk about all of that real-time data and coming from maybe different kinds of systems and different protocols, and being able to put that together in a single view where you can get some meaningful insights into trending and just understanding anomalies. Also bringing in that data through technology like AI, where our visual inspection offering, you can, bring in a number of images if it's someplace remote or not easy to access, and just kind of take the time and human factor out of some of the assessment of those images to understand if there are defects or problematic areas that need to be fed in and responded to. And of course, as I said, into the broader picture on the right side of the image, with understanding from the overall portfolio view of all your assets, their health scores, understanding what goes into those health scores and contributes to making up what the different factors are and how they should be weighted. And now I can start to really do some investment planning at a larger scale, and be able to collect the data and the history and train some of the models to be able to do better prediction. So now moving even further away from just doing lots of corrective maintenance or even doing PMs incorrectly, that I can make some adjustments and improve the overall life expectancy of some of those assets and be able to avoid failures. There is a little piece here at the bottom about the digital twin, and so we are looking for other ways to support the digitization of data and being able to quickly import that kind of footprint and roadmap, I guess, of your assets and their maintenance plans, anything that you might have from the original manufacturer that can be easily consumed and then used as part of the operate and maintain phase of that asset's life. So we'll talk a little bit about how we're connecting better to digital twin and digital data. Okay, so a little bit more just about the suite and this new product offering. You'll see the smaller bubbles here are all different applications and sets of capabilities that are under this single part number. You don't need to install all of these different aspects, right? As we do today, even under manage, there's options for transportation and oil and gas, different industry solutions, if you scheduling, spatial, calibration, etc. So this footprint is a choice. These are all available though under the footprint of that part number, if you will. So that's really simplifying the licensing and also moving to a simplified metric where we're going to be using application points that are consumed when you use one or more of these features and can be shared amongst the different applications and amongst your users. So it is a concurrent model. And when you log into the system, you'll consume a number of points. They'll be taken out of the pool, and at the end of that session, they're returned to the pool for use by someone else. So it's very helpful in shift work and being able to share some of those points amongst a broader population. Of course, there's also the technology piece. So this is all an OpenShift deployment. So using containerization and Kubernetes to really support the multi-cloud deployment, being able to run this on any, I guess, platform that your organization would like to use, whether it's AWS or Azure, on-prem as it is today, IBM's cloud, but being able to really take advantage of some of that newer technology when it comes to deployment and managing those environments. So just a little bit more to emphasize here the applications that are available, and just to make sure that we understand the manage block here does represent all of the enterprise asset management portfolio today. So the industry solutions along with some of the other capabilities. And you'll see that there is a rolling roadmap of inclusion of some of these applications within the suite. And when we take a look at the roadmap in a couple of minutes, you'll see that initially we offered monitor with entitlement to today's 7.6 Maximo, 7.6.1, and then have added health and predict, and will continue to add things like visual inspections and assist and safety. And planning to include all of the EAM capabilities in the early second quarter of next year. So that's sort of a preview of the roadmap. Let me just give you a little bit more insight into some of the other newer applications and where there's some opportunities now under this new license and the value that you can get over being able to tie this into your processes and be able to now incorporate being able to bring in the real-time data. So the first piece is about the different protocols. So whether you have some sort of a SCADA system or OSI Pi, some kind of a data repository, some other historian, maybe even the meter information that comes from manual entries in Maximo can all be fed into a single dashboard. And the UI is very nice, very configurable, very easy to now start to be able to show anomalies over time. And there's been some examples. I've seen some other customer presentations over the last couple of weeks at some of the other user groups, and examples of the throughput in the pump. It changes a little bit every day, but if you're just comparing today to yesterday or even the day before, you can't really see the big picture that over 6 months there was a trend in this one pump that was continuously downgrading and needed attention. But no alert's really going to go off because it hasn't passed it hasn't spiked or jumped, significantly. So a dashboard like this can really help you bring all that data together and start to see some trends. The second piece is health, and Asset Health Insights has been available for some time now, so I feel like we've been talking a lot about the ability to set up these different health scoring methods for the reliability engineer who understands if the age, the weather, the operating hours, how it's maintained, all of those things can be factored in to give me, this one here showing this robot arm with a pretty poor score of 22%, taking into account all of those different items. But now we can start to do that for a set of assets, a classification of assets, a hierarchy of assets, start to do some what-if scenarios of, if I repair this, how will that improve the health score? When do I think I really need to replace these items, and start to be able to plan for that and do it on a broader scale across the organization. And of course, one of the ultimate goals is to really get to good predictability. And, a lot of this needs to be done. You need to start thinking about that, want years of data really for it to be accurate and fine-tuned. So even starting to think about some of your strategies here, that we've got 5 models that we provide out of the box to understand what kind of data those models are looking at, making sure that you're collecting the right kind of data. So when you can get to a point to start really doing predictive analysis, that the supporting data is there for you. That, I guess that would be my best advice. I hear, Elena, we're not ready for that. We're just getting out of doing paperwork orders, right? This is way beyond what we are going to be able to take on right now. But it's still worth understanding when you do decide to make that investment that you've got, you've prepared for it. Okay. Visual inspection. This is another one that is just really introducing, accelerated technology, and can see the results of this very quickly in a POC. And another one of the benefits on the application suite, where with my existing license, I could go and install this in a test environment and go out in the morning and take a bunch of pictures of go walk around the building and, get every HVAC unit or something. I don't know, go walk the platform of the train, create that data set, start to prepare it and do some training of that model over a couple of hours, a half a day, and then show some results on that confined set of assets or data, within 24 hours to a team, and understand if there's going to be some payback here in investing in going forward with some of this work, especially for organizations that have really remote assets. You hear about crews that they're just constantly inspection, and you go from one end of the line to the other, and then you turn around and come back. And it's just continuous. This could really free up some manpower for some more value-added activities. Safety is another one where, again, taking some of the IoT technology and being able to bring information about the technician's health when they're out in the field. When you're in a hazardous condition, there are some lockout tagout procedures that need to be followed. We can ensure that they're following those if there's something that can be readable. I use the example more about their sort of personal safety. If their heart rate is accelerated, if they've fallen, there's high carbon dioxide levels, for example, or heat. Those could all be sent back to a supervisor or someone, a shift manager that can follow up with the person, make sure they're okay, pull them out of a hazardous condition. They might not realize even that it's occurring. And then tie that all back into the HSE capabilities. So we talk about incident reporting and being able to manage the change around, preventing that incident in the future. So that full circle and all of the regulatory issues that come around being able to report any incidents. So another solution, again, part of the suite. So I mentioned earlier sort of our focus on the technician, and our mobile solutions are being accelerated even further with technology. We are recognizing the importance of having the right tools in their hands. We want to make sure first-time fix rates are improved, and allowing that sharing of information across the organization. So we talk about the ability to get assistance, whether that's from digital information, being able to reach out to the library of information that I have, as well as reaching out to experts that are in the field to be able to share knowledge with me when I'm on site, I'm at the point of failure, and I need some immediate assistance. So first is the intuitive UI. So we have been working on this Maximo mobile experience. Again, some rebranding that's built, on top of what we were doing for Anywhere. But as this is expanded into, you can see here, assist and digital twins and safety. So this is a single dashboard to reach all of your capabilities that are available to you. We're working on this design notion of intelligent workflows with follow the blue button, so that even if you've had no training and you're picking this up for the first time, you should at least know what your next action most likely should be at any given time by following that blue button. Supporting the configurability of the screens and the UI, supporting connected and disconnected mode, of course, as you would in a mobile scenario. And with the direct connection to Maximo, with the removal of any dependency on other middleware, making sure that we've got real-time updates and just high quality performance with the servers, with the application itself. And expanding our ability to download Apple, Google, and the Microsoft Store now as a source for getting these applications. So here's an example of the assist piece, just to show you a little bit more in the background, the image where it's the centrifugal pump oil change. This is the AI piece where you can, in natural language, ask a question, and it can bring back with some accuracy, with a 84% confidence level. I think these documents are related to the question you have and can provide you the right information. It might be the next step in the manual. It might be information from a history work order that I have, anything that I found out on public documents out on the web. But we've compiled, this allows you to compile all those sort of attached documents, I'll call them, into a searchable index, I guess, using some of the AI technology where it's not just a search, but a smart search. And then the front screen is about the collaboration piece. So this is more the augmented reality where we have the image. So I've taken a picture, I can add notations, I can put little images and arrows, and I can put some comments. Right? I'm not sure with uncoupling this power handle, I can't get to it. Yeah, it's hard to get to it. Here's what you should do, right? Turn these ones clockwise, lift the latch. So there are certain steps that maybe aren't as detailed out on the attached job plan, or if it's somebody new who's never done it before. The other nice thing about this information now is I have it as a record, a documented steps that I can add to the job plan permanently. We could send out, we know someone who's, this round when you're out, I want you to record, what you do, and we're going to create a library of training materials and use them going forward. So there's lots of use cases and value here. Okay, so when we talk about these new design patterns and the consistent look and feel across the application suite, we're looking at something called the carbon design pattern that IBM is using more broadly, and it's public information. It's sort of an open source kind of a design library. And so when we're trying to build new applications, people, it will allow us to accelerate that building of new applications and having a consistent look and feel. Somebody wants to add a status change to a new application, or I need a table window that looks like this. I don't have to start with a blank piece of paper to do that. I'm going to go out and get the components that are approved and used by other applications. So every time my user sees a table window, they see the same table window and have the same navigation choices and the same fonts and colors and look and feel. So coupling this design with some updates to the framework. So as we move forward with work centers and refreshing the capabilities, looking to add more configuration, as well as supporting all of the other kind of technical foundation things like translations and globalization, being able to extend and upgrade this UI, supporting disconnected access. All of those things are part of a big investment in the framework itself. So you will see, if you look at the latest health release that was part of the application suite in 8.2, that's all based on this new framework with the new components and the new usability. And we'll start to roll that out more broadly across some of the other applications like inspections and technician as we move into early next year. I don't want to forget about some of the functional enhancements. I just highlight these two. I know these are things that have been a long time on our list, maybe not the left one as much, just some enhancements around reporting downtime and having better visibility into, if I go to set an asset down, it's already down, who did it, and why. So that was kind of a minor one, but the asset cost roll-up has been something that we've been trying to move out of a report and into the programmatic, a programmatic update for a long time. So some options will be introduced as we go forward, being able to either do it just at the time of a work order is in a certain status, or you allowing them to still manually roll up costs, on a regular basis within the application. But we're also continuing to prioritize many other items around serviceability, of course, migration manager, reporting updates, as we look towards what this Q2 release will be. Okay, I just had a couple more just to go back. Want to make sure that the app points is a whole new concept for us, moving away from the named user or concurrent user licensing, where we can have this single license for a Maximo application suite, and then be able to share the app points that you purchase amongst any of the components within the application suite. So no additional provisioning. You can always add some app points if I decide I want to, expand my usage of Monitor with some additional users, and we're finding that our app points are not covering our usage, that can be expanded more easily. And those licenses can be on a subscription term license or a perpetual license as they are today. This just gives you a quick idea, just so you've got some numbers in your head. For starting at a limited access would be 5 points, 10 for base, which is just EAM, including some of the what used to be add-ons, right, are no longer individually charged, if you will, and then the premium is 15. So just a little bit of a map here. I didn't want to go into all kinds of detail on this, but I think it makes it makes it a little clearer on what to expect. So I think I've gone through this at least verbally. So the launch was back in June of 8.0. We've had, so just a little acronym library here, the CP for D, that's Cloud Pak for Data. So we're including that component to provide things like Watson Services and WAS Liberty and OpenShift, right? Some of those things, that's the OCP, all are included in this license. So those aren't things that you have to purchased separately. And then we're going to continue to add. So you just see the list kind of grow as we go 8.1, 8.2. And then in early 2021, we will have some additional items as well. And then the 8.y is where you see manage EAM as the second bullet at the top in that second quarter, when we'll see some of what were sort of traditional EAM Maximo pieces will be available. But the very first 8.0, just to point out that entitlement to Maximo 761. So that's something that's still available if eventually, you know, depending on where you are in your timeline and your upgrade, but the migration from current licensing to AppPoints licensing could begin to occur. And it's another thing, you know, as I mentioned with Predict, right, about having lots of data so that you can start to move into that realm. This is another place where you might want to start getting a handle on your current usage and just try and do sort of a health check on your current entitlement. I know we've rolled out, you know, the license usage monitor over the last couple of 760 and 761 releases, you know, and that's pretty, you know, that's stable now, to try and turn some of that on so that you start to really capture your user logging and can have a better conversation with IBM about how many app points you would need to be entitled to when you're ready to move forward. Okay, let me just do a quick time check. I mean, you know, my chiclet slide is the transition here, and maybe I will pause for just a moment to just highlight a couple of things that have changed. First of all, the industry solutions want to highlight the Maximo for Civil Infrastructure came out, I want to say March last year. So may not be directly related to your industry or your organization, but with what we're doing with some of the inspection work and the visual inspections is being driven a lot from the use cases of these bridges and looking at those huge bridgeways that go over Northern Europe, right, through the Nordics and stuff. It's lots of really hefty infrastructure over there. So using some of this visual inspections to identify defects and use the AI technology. Also, some of the underlying work that might be needed to improve the way assets and meters and collecting that data and the association of that data will be beneficial across the portfolio. So I highlight it for that reason. The other one that may have just been a shift, just to make sure everyone, there's Scheduler Plus and Scheduler have now rolled into a single, the Scheduler part number. There's no distinction there, but we did introduce an option for the Scheduler optimization as a separate part. So on the far left of the add-on solutions, just a little bit of a modification there. Okay, with that, so here's second half. I'll spend a little bit of time on 7612, that came out in July. Some really nice requests for enhancements that were responded to, did some work around work centers, and as always, security and currency updates. And by that I mean the latest version of browsers, middleware, app servers, etc. And we've got the details of all that. Another focus was what we're calling under this header of location-based services and updates to spatial. A lot of that was driven from some of the mobile work. So see the very first item, offline mapping improvement, so we can have access to maps through the mobile work centers and anywhere and offline. Some improvements to the way that data is displayed with the security. So just being able to control and mirror what your security is in Maximo when it comes to what you're viewing on the map and the linear items. And then a technology update to use the newer technology from Esri with their ArcGIS online data synchronization, using feature services instead of the DB-Link connection. So that just improves and eases the way that you can maintain and manage the synchronization of that data. some really nice improvements in scheduling. So if you're using Scheduler, these two new applications, there's a calendar view and a heat map view now with the graphical work week and the graphical resource view. Also a number of usability enhancements. And then on the optimization side, we've updated the iLog component to a new, better, cleaner engine. And there's also this data cleansing tool. So I've got a slide on that just to help you have the right data to do better optimization. Now, I know I won't do this justice, and I heard Russell B. had a comment on the last session, so, but oil and gas and HS&E improvements, and there's pages and pages of this. I should really put the announcement link. This is newly released, and the announcement letter does a really good job of outlining all of the improvements across incidents and lock, permit to work, and then a new training module. And that was the one that I seem to get the most interest from people who are not even using HS&E. It could be worthwhile just to do a better job tracking the training that's provided and training that's required and when it was completed, et cetera, for your staff. And there was a second release of the civil infrastructure industry solution as well. And you can see here some of the, defects, being able to update, 3D and linear views, import and export of asset hierarchies. So again, just to emphasize the sort of cross-industry benefits that could come from some of the work going on there. All right, 7612, I will not go through every bullet on this. This is, a lot of the details around the versioning and the currency updates. I will point out that we are officially dropping support for Internet Explorer and adding support for Edge Chromium. And we also did update the Cognos entitlement to 11.0.13, and you can see there in the parens, if that's something that you're using and you want to move to that version, 7612 will go through Fix Central, but if you want the new Cognos, you'll have to go back to Passport and download it there. And then there's a number of technical enhancements, and there's some detail here. I've got a couple of screenshots on the different functional enhancements. So I will just, I think, do those on those slides, but really do want to highlight for the first time 550 APARs were addressed, but we've also provided now the documentation for that in the README file, which was a great amount of work. So that's very happy to be able to deliver that. Let's see, which one? I'm just going to go back for a second because I don't have a slide on the email authentication and the update to communication. So while we were in this OAuth 2 is a new protocol for email authentication, and then on the right-hand side, there's better handling of embedded images and attachments in communications. So that's just one that I will point out. Okay, so some of the favorites, the drill down. So new drill down control, new icons, new colors, ability to drill down to lower than just the asset or location information. So now I can get to PM, job plans, spare parts, where the arrow is in that screenshot under the OK. If there's additional actions, I could go over to the PM and take a look. If I was on a spare part, I could view item availability. So being able to get further and more information from this single view. Also a drag and drop capability. So I can change my parent. I can move a child to a different parent. That green bar you can see in the example means that's a valid move. If it were red, it would be an invalid move, and follows the standard logic that you would if you were doing an asset move from the asset dialog, including security and all of that. Now at the bottom, you'll see here that we didn't force this out of the box. This new drill down is not turned on, so you need to go in and update the property if you want to enable that for your users. The other one that was a big requested item was multiple attachments simultaneously instead of having to click many times. I can now do a select file. It will take me to my directory, and I can, shift click for a number of them and have them all attached at the same time. The one thing you do lose is the naming. You don't get to name the document something different, so just make sure that they have a good name in their source file. A couple of things in storerooms and inventory. We now have this true notion of storeroom hierarchies to support that centralized sourcing. So if I do want to have a main storeroom warehouse that distributes to all of the others, hub and spoke kind of model, that you can set up that storeroom and another storeroom to use that parent as its reorder storeroom by default. And then I can add items to multiple storerooms at the same time and manage all kinds of details. So as you can imagine, the same item would have the same serial number, manufacturer, vendor perhaps, issue unit, order unit, all kinds of details that I just want to fill out once and then be able to push that out to multiple. So just some, nice usability improvements. And some new capabilities on the inventory side when it comes to work centers. So as we continue to expand on the capabilities there, new picking and staging application. So you can see that's the screenshot here. Instead of just with an issue with a single click, I get the item, the balance is decremented here, incremented there, and the financial transaction hits. This allows me to stage that. I can put them in a number of different statuses and before I go to the actual issue and commit that financial transaction. New screen for reconciliation of accounting, and so there's some good indicators, more color coding, red, greens, allows you to fix some things right on that screen, so improves that view and the information that's provided. You can now barcode scan anywhere you can pick an item. And some general usabilities to barcode improved, like it'll beep when it's successful and go automatically to video mode and things like that, just to save some clicks again. And we've now introduced the condition-enabled item management in the Work Center as well. I did mention that I was going to hit on briefly here the digital information exchange. So the first one is with our partner Siemens, and being able to bring in the team-centered data from an engineering design perspective. So if you're familiar with what we've done, with BIM, it's a similar value prop of being able to take all the digital data about that asset and import it quickly into Maximo, create the asset hierarchy, whatever data is there. The specifications, the spare parts, maintenance plans, anything that's available. And then the other kind of the value here really is that I'm going to now operate this specific asset for a number of months, years, and be able to feed the operating data back to engineering for potential future improvements to the overall design. Similarly, IBM is hosting the digital marketplace. So this link is live. You can go out today and explore the marketplace. I encourage you to encourage your vendors to explore it and post any digital information they have about the assets that they provide, that you procure from them. It makes a nice, easy way to get the specifications loaded into your Maximo repository quickly. And there's all kinds of examples of this. You can see on the bottom right, from fault codes, manuals, stocking strategies, maintenance plans. And IBM just provides the technology here, so your vendors will set their price on what they're going to charge. We just help with the transaction and also provide then within Maximo in your asset application the ability to import from those data sources, whether it's the digital twin or the Team Center Siemens information. You can see here these are the sets of data that were in my inbox, that were in my cart, I guess, that I've now purchased, and I can import that data. We've done the mapping to be able to create that information. Okay, I just had a couple slides on scheduler. Just wanted to give you a visual on the new calendar and graphical resource view. This is, again, something that's been a long time request to be able to have this in more of a familiar format for your end users, and also then be able to take this data and import it into my personal Outlook calendar. So there's a number of calendars, a couple of calendar apps anyway that are supported. I just have Outlook here as the example. And then I mentioned the updates to the optimization, replacing the old iLog technology with a new Studio, better performance, et cetera, easier to manage, some enhancements for large project optimization. Now, all of that being said, you can't really do that optimization well unless you have the right data to support it. So this is not part of the scheduler optimization license. This is actually just part of scheduler. So you can go and now start looking, show me where I don't have craft quantities or priorities, no planned resources. I'm missing my start no earlier than, finish no later than data. And be able to start scrubbing that and perhaps change some of my initial processes to be able to collect it up front. You're not going to be able to do any automated scheduling if the information isn't there. Okay, coming to the end. So of course, all of this, again, trying to reinforce the need to stay current. I want to make sure that everyone's on a 7.6.1 release of Maximo by September of 2021. We did announce the end of support for 7.6.0. Just for this one release, we're using that third number. And no plans right now for 7.6.1 end of support. Based on the dates and history, I would say no earlier than 2025 is kind of the number that we're kicking around. So that does give you some time. We understand that the application suite does require some time to migrate, and with new technology and new licensing and some of the new features. But we do want to make that as easy as we can, but we also want to take into consideration and make sure that we have a continued 7.6.1 version that's supported through that time frame. Okay, with that, I've got some links here just to make sure everyone knows, and this happened a bit ago, but the IoT community, a lot of the information that we used to have on DevWorks was moved. So I've got the link here. The key is to make sure that you become a member of the communities that you want to receive information on in order to get access to it. You can see even some of the counts here, like the libraries. I think the next one will show it too. So even in the sub-community, there are 339 members for the scheduler community, but to get to that library, the 78 documents that are out there, you would need to be a member here. So that's an important piece. And then ibm.com/training, we've moved the training yet again from the old academy gateway training, so all the self-paced courses, which are always useful. All right, with that, Craig, I can see, how's the chat been going?
It's going nuts. It's going great. No, thanks for that, Kim, and that was exciting. We have a few questions here for you.
Okay.
One came from Richard Hayden, and his question was in Application Suite or Mass 8. Is the Maximo app and add-on industry solutions an upgrade from standalone 7.6.1.2, or in the managed components, is it the same Maximo application just embedded in the Maximo application suite?
Yeah, so it is the same application. There are some underlying technology changes because of moving to WAS Liberty, et cetera. So it is considered a trade-up, I guess, to get to the application suite, but it is Maximo embedded. I don't know. Did I answer the question?
Yeah, no, I think so. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And then the next one was from Peter Van Conant. He asked, are the enhancements that you showed in 7.6.1.2, or are we talking all Mass 8? And I think he was talking probably on the latter. Yeah.
The latter half are all 7.6.1.2. So starting with like the drill down and the communication, the work center inventory stuff, all of those are in 7.6.1.2 that came out in July.
Excellent. Thank you. Brian Rosler asked, on the roadmap, will MaxAdmin have the ability to reconfigure work centers using a visual configuration tool?
Yeah, that is the goal. It's not part of the first release. There are some things you can do. I guess I know that everyone compares it to the way you can configure Maximo with the app designer. It's not quite that, but there are some components that can be done in that way.
Excellent, thank you. And yeah, no, absolutely, yep. Can current versions of Maximo use the current apps available in the App Store? I'm not sure I understand. Is the integration, it must mean anywhere. That's the only reason I could think it would be in the App Store. So it's a message from Chris. It says, is the integration easily implemented? I think it's to do with anywhere. Can current versions use it?
So you'd have to, so anywhere right now is on 7.6.8, I think. So you would have to be on that version of anywhere to get the current mobile versions.
Right. Yeah, okay.
Maybe they can send a note if that's not clear, and we can get the mobile offering manager involved in the conversation if there's some complexity there.
We have a tough one here from Ken Thompson. It says, when you say trade up to the Mass Maximo 8, does this mean that moving from 7.6.1 to Mass, when they have to, that their S&S maintenance costs will not cover that, and we will have to pay an upcharge?
Yeah, there is a little bit of an upcharge, and I will say a lot of it is to do with that Cloud Pak for Data component. So you got to remember that we're now embedding all of the OpenShift licenses and other sort of IBM licenses. So it's not just Maximo that you're getting. So there are other pieces. There is a small uplift charge for that because it's considered a new thing in IBM's eyes, right? It's a new part number.
Yep. Excellent. And I think that wraps those up. Thank you very much, Kim. I appreciate your contributions to the group here. Thank you.